The Young and the Restless spoilers. The moment Diane opened Victor's message, something inside her seemed to shatter. Diane's face flushed with anger. It was Jack, unmistakable, leaning toward a woman Diane recognized instantly. It was her, only her, Patty, the woman who had left Genoa in disgrace 10 years ago. Her fingers trembled as she stared at the phone again, as if hoping that a second look would somehow change what she was seeing. But the truth remained. They were kissing? Was this a real photo or an AI? Diane calmed down and thought, why did Victor have this photo? What was he plotting? Victor had laughed when Diane saw it. He had achieved what he wanted, and he knew Diane would go mad. Diane gripped the phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Then, a thunderous rage erupted within her. She screamed in frustration, her voice echoing through the room as if the walls themselves had betrayed her. Diane tore the photograph to shreds. Her voice trembled with rage as she declared that she would let Jack die if this was how he would repay her loyalty. Kyle stood behind his mother, witnessing the whole thing, and approached curiously. The anger in her eyes seemed almost alien, as if the past had suddenly reached out and taken control of her. As the fragments of the photograph fell to the floor, Kyle slowly stepped forward. His intuition told him something was wrong. He bent down and carefully gathered the pieces, his eyebrows furrowed as he began to piece them together like a jigsaw puzzle, possibly revealing more than his mother realized. When the final image became clear, Kyle stared at it with growing unease. Kyle asked who it was. Diane shrieked and said it was Jack's ex-wife, that they had once been deeply in love. But something in the picture still bothered Kyle. It was too perfect, too convenient to have devastating consequences. Victor had a reputation as a manipulator for decades, and Kyle knew better than anyone that Victor liked to turn emotional turmoil into a strategic weapon. That thought crept into Kyle's mind like a whisper he couldn't ignore. What if this wasn't true? What if this was a trap? Kyle looked up at Diane, who paced the room like a raging storm. Her anger still seethed, but beneath it, he could see something else: hurt, pain, and vulnerability. Diane had fought for a place beside Jack. She had endured years of suspicion and judgment, and she had relentlessly strived to prove her love for him was real. The thought that Jack could throw all of that away for Patty, of all people, was almost unbearable for her. But Kyle couldn't shake the feeling that Victor wanted Diane to react that way. If she let jealousy guide her decision, Victor would win without lifting a finger. Think about it, Kyle said softly, though his voice carried a clear urgency. In his mind, the pieces of Victor's strategy began to form a disturbing picture. Victor always liked to throw the Abbott family into chaos. If Diane believed Jack had betrayed her, she might refuse to help him. If she refused to help him, Jack could be left vulnerable in whatever dangerous situation he was in. The more Kyle thought about it, the clearer the possibility became. Victor didn't just want Diane angry. He wanted Jack isolated. But Diane was struggling to hear reason amidst the raging storm of emotions within her. She couldn't stop picturing Jack's face in that photograph, leaning against Patty with familiarity so intense it felt like a knife piercing her heart every second. Her mind reeled with every moment she'd spent fighting for her relationship. She remembered the sacrifices, the arguments, the nights she convinced herself their love was strong enough to overcome anything. And now this, a single image had shattered the fragile peace she believed they had shared. The air in the CEO's office at Glissade was stale, recycled, and thick with the scent of betrayal. Kyle Abbott sat behind the sleek modern desk, the leather creaking as he leaned forward, his eyes burning holes into the glossy photograph lying on the glass surface. It was a picture of his mother, Diane Jenkins. In it, she was huddled in a dimly lit booth at a dive bar on the outskirts of Genoa City, her hand resting intimately on the arm of a man who looked suspiciously like a rival corporate raider. To the untrained eye, it was damning proof that Diane was leaking Jabot secrets, betraying the family legacy yet again. Victor Newman had slid the envelope across this very desk only hours ago, his voice a low, gravelly purr. Asterisk. Your mother hasn't changed, Kyle. She will always choose her own survival over your success. You need to know who you're really in business with. Asterisk. But something about the image gnawed at Kyle. He picked it up, tilting it under the harsh halogen lamp. The shadows around Diane's jawline seemed too sharp the grain of the image, inconsistent with the high-resolution surveillance tech Victor usually employed. You're trying too hard, Victor Kyle whispered to the empty room. He unlocked his laptop, his fingers flying across the keyboard. He wasn't just a corporate suit. He had grown up in a world of subterfuge. He scanned the photo, uploading it to a digital forensics program he'd used during his time at Jabot. The software hummed, analyzing metadata and pixel density. Minutes stretched into an agonizing hour. Kyle paced the floor, the skyline of Genoa City, mocking him through the floor-to-ceiling windows. If this photo was real, his fragile truce with his mother was over. If it was fake, then everything Victor had fed him about mentoring him was a lie. A chime from the laptop broke the silence. Kyle rushed back to the screen. Analysis complete. Discrepancy. Detected lighting source inconsistent. Estimated origin date November 2011. Kyle's breath hitched. 2011. Diane was supposed to be dead in 2011 or at least deep in hiding in Los Angeles under the alias Taylor Jensen. The woman in the photo wasn't plotting a corporate takeover in 2026. She was a desperate woman on the run over a decade ago. The man's face had been digitally altered, a modern rival's features pasted over some forgotten drinking buddy. It was a fabrication. A collage of past sins repurposed for present-day destruction. Kyle slumped back in his chair, a cold fury rising in his chest. Victor wasn't protecting him. He was playing him. The mustache knew the Abbott family's Achilles heel was their trust issues with Diane. He was exploiting Kyle's lingering childhood trauma, weaponizing his fear of abandonment to turn him into a soldier against his own blood. He wants us to tear each other apart. Kyle realized the pieces of the puzzle snapping into place. He wants me to fire the first shot so he doesn't have to. He grabbed the photo, shoving it into his inner jacket pocket. He didn't bother grabbing his briefcase. He needed to get to the Abbott mansion. Now. The Abbott living room was quiet, the fire in the hearth reduced to dying embers. Diane Jenkins sat on the sofa, a book unread in her lap. Her eyes were red-rimmed. The distance between her and Kyle had been a chasm lately widened by his alliance with Victor and his coldness at the office. The front door burst open. Diane jumped, clutching the book to her chest as Kyle stormed in, bringing a gust of cool night air with him. Kyle. She stood up, her voice trembling. I didn't expect you. Is everything all right with Harrison? Harrison is fine, Kyle said, his voice tight. He didn't stop until he was standing directly in front of her. The look in his eyes wasn't the anger she had grown used to. It was intensity, a desperate need for clarity. Then what is it? Diane asked, bracing herself for another accusation. Kyle pulled the crumpled photo from his pocket and held it out. Victor gave me this today. He told me it was taken last week. He said you were selling us out. Diane took the photo, her hands shaking. She looked at it, confusion clouding her features. I don't understand. I haven't been to a place like this in years. And this man, I don't know him. Look closer, Mom, Kyle urged, his voice softening. Diane squinted. That dress... I wore that dress the year I left. I threw it away in Milan. She looked up, horror dawning on her face. This is old. This is from when I was away. It's from 2011, Kyle confirmed. And the man is a Photoshop job. Victor dug up a ghost from your past to haunt our future. Diane dropped the photo onto the coffee table as if it burned her skin. He's trying to make you hate me again. He knows how hard we've worked to rebuild this, Kyle. He knows I'm terrified of losing you. He almost succeeded. Kyle admitted the weight of his guilt causing his shoulders to sag. I almost believed him. For a second, I thought you were doing it again, but then I remembered how hard you fought for us. For me. For Jack. He stepped closer, taking her hands. I see what he's doing now. He's not mentoring me. He's isolating me. He wants the Abbotts fractured so he can pick off Jabot while we're busy fighting a civil war. Diane squeezed his hands, tears spilling over. I am so sorry, Kyle. Sorry that my past keeps giving him ammunition. No, Kyle said firmly. This isn't on you. This is on him. And we're going to stop it. The sound of footsteps on the stairs drew their attention. Jack Abbott descended, looking weary but alert. He paused, seeing the intensity between his wife and son. What's happened? Jack asked, his gaze darting from Kyle to the tear-stained face of Diane. Is it Victor? It's always Victor, Kyle said grimly. He picked up the photo and handed it to his father. He tried to frame Mom. He tried to use me to blow up the family. Jack studied the image, his jaw tightening until a muscle feathered in his cheek. He recognized the tactic immediately. It was classic Newman, ruthless, personal, and entirely without honor. He thinks you're a pawn, Kyle, Jack said, his voice low and dangerous. He thinks he can use my son to destroy my wife. He's wrong, Kyle said. I'm done being his protege. I'm an Abbott, and it's time we reminded him what that means. The drive to the Newman ranch was silent, the tension in the car palpable. Jack drove his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Diane sat in the passenger seat, her hand resting on Jack's arm, while Kyle sat in the back staring out at the passing dark trees. They were a united front, a phalanx of resolve moving toward the enemy's gates. They didn't wait to be announced. The Abbott swept past the startled housekeeper and into the main salon, where Victor Newman stood by the fireplace, a glass of tequila in his hand. He looked up, his dark eyes narrowing not in fear but in irritation at the intrusion. To what do I owe the pleasure of this invasion? Victor asked, his voice smooth as silk. Jack, Diane, and Kyle, I expected you to handle our business more discreetly. "There is no our business," Victor Kyle said, stepping forward. He tossed the photo onto the side table next to Victor's drink. "Your Photoshop skills are slipping. Or maybe you just think I'm stupid." Victor didn't look at the photo. He took a slow sip of his drink. "I have no idea what you are referring to." "Don't insult us," Jack barked, stepping up beside his son. "You tried to manufacture evidence to frame Diane. You tried to manipulate Kyle into destroying his own mother. It's a new low even for you. You dragged a woman's past trauma into the light just to win a business deal." Diane added her voice, shaking with rage, but her chin held high. "You thought I would crumble. You thought Kyle would turn on me. But you forgot one thing, Victor. We know you." Victor set his glass down with a sharp Times clink asterisk. The mask of indifference slipped, replaced by a scowl of pure disdain. "You people," he sneered, pointing a finger at Jack. "You sanctimonious hypocrites. You think you are so superior." "Diane is a liability, Kyle. I was trying to open your eyes. She will eventually betray you. I just accelerated the timeline." "By lying," Kyle challenged. "You didn't expose the truth. You invented it. You used my trust to try and break my family. I'm done, Victor. I'm resigning from Glissade effective immediately. And if you ever come after my mother again, I will use everything I learned in your office to burn your operations to the ground." Victor's eyes flashed with genuine anger now. His plan had backfired spectacularly. Instead of a broken Abbott family, he was facing a fortified wall. "You are making a mistake, my boy. You are choosing weakness over power. You are choosing times her asterisk." "I'm choosing my family," Kyle said. "Something you sacrifice every day for a stock price." "Get out of my house," Victor growled, turning his back on them. "All of you, get out." "We're leaving," Jack said, his voice calm, now victorious. "But know this, Victor. The next time you come for one of us, you get all of us, and we won't be playing defense." Back at the Abbott mansion, the atmosphere had shifted. The air was lighter, cleared of the suspicion that had plagued them for weeks. Jack poured 3 brandies, handing one to Diane and one to Kyle. "To family," Jack said, raising his glass. "To unity," Diane whispered, her eyes locking with Kyle's. Kyle took a sip, the warmth of the liquid matching the fire in his gut. "We can't just let this go," he said, setting the glass down. "Victor is wounded. He's going to lash out. He'll come after Jabot harder than before." "Let him try," Jack said, a fierce grin spreading across his face. "He thinks he knows our playbook. He thinks we're soft." "He doesn't know what I saw in his private files," Kyle said, a mischievous glint in his eye. "While I was looking for proof about the photo, I found something else. Victor has been leveraging Newman Media assets to artificially inflate Glissade's numbers before the public launch. It's illegal and it's sloppy." Diane's eyes widened. "Kyle, that's SEC violation territory." "It's a smoking gun," Kyle agreed. "We don't just defend Jabot. We go on the offensive. We expose the inflation. We show the board that Victor Newman is cooking the books to fund his vendettas." Jack looked at his son, pride swelling in his chest. "We leak it." "No," Kyle said. "We hold it. We let him think he's winning. We let him overextend, and when he makes his move to acquire Jabot, we drop the hammer." Diane placed her hand over Kyle's, and then Jack placed his over theirs. The pact was sealed. The photo that was meant to destroy them had become the catalyst for their greatest strength. "Checkmate, Victor," Kyle murmured. Outside, the wind howled through the Genoa city trees, but inside the Abbott home, the foundation was solid, and the war had only just begun.